It's in here somewhere. That's so confusing, but I know it's something.
It's definitely.
Maybe could be specific or whatever. Of course, there's travel, so. That's fun.
There was another one.
There's a lot of
not a
them.
good one. That one's okay.
I just happened to flip open to the index and it's the first one.
There we go. Are we ready?
I'm ready, whatever you want.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am Rabbi Ari, and I'm delighted to be here with Barbara Kessler tonight. We're going to begin with a different opening song. It's on page 634, Yom Zeh L'Yisrael. You know, when it's just me, I didn't name my total out. It's nice to vary it up a little bit, so it's a good thing. Page 634.
Yom Zeh L'Yisrael, Torah v'Simcha, Shabbat Menucha. Yom Zeh L'Yisrael, Torah v'Simcha, Shabbat Menucha.
Marlene, can I ask you to kindle the Shabbat candles?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'havli ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. You know, normally you see 2 candles for Shabbat, but there are other traditions. My Baba used to have 4 candles, well, plus a shaman's actually. She had the shaman's plus 4. She had 4, one for each of her 4 kids. So sometimes you'll see more than the 2 that we normally see. We're going to continue with Lachadodi on page 138. Lachadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat v'kavela, Lachadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat v'kavela. Lechadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat v'kavela. Lechadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat v'kavela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, Yishmianu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. לשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמונת עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקרא בלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקרא בלה. May be seated. When we sing Lecha Dodi, we call Shabbat a kala, a bride. It reminds me of a dispute between Hillel and Shammai back in the first century. There were two rabbis who would always argue with each other and take opposing positions. Somebody asked them the question about honesty. If someone comes up to you and they ask you if the bride is beautiful, if she's not beautiful, should you be honest with them or should you be dishonest? And Shammai said you should be honest. If she's not beautiful, you should say so. She's not a beautiful bride. And Hillel had the right answer. He said all brides are beautiful. He was absolutely right. We're going to continue with Shalom Aleichem, page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashalem, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem v'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech, Malachei Amlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu v'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei rise from Chatz Kaddish, page 144. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabba, Yamad Yivrach Yotei v'yamet malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomecho, v'chayet v'chol beit Yisrael, B'zman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach ve'olam le'omei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitkar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitchodar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudesha v'erichu le'elam yimkol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nefemata tamiram ve'oma v'imeru amen. be seated. Continue at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv ha'ramim. Page 157. Please join me on the responsive reading at the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, Give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Adonai et Yaakov ukalon yad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Please join us at the top, page 161 in the English, followed by the melody. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu, kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkah shalom. Shalom aleinu, kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu, kol amo Yisrael.
Oh, Shamro.
The Shamru it is, page 162.
It's not good,
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל, בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת Shabbat Vayinafash, Shabbat Vayinafash, Shabbat Vayinafash, Vishamru B'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat L'Dorotam B'Ritolam.
Please rise for the tefillah on page 164. Adonai sefataytita ufi agitei latecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu Imoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei Hamor Bezocher Nasei Avot V'imavot U'meimi Gulam Livnei B'neihem Lemon Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer Mashiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Ezras Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Oshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Marin HaGashem Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Tzomech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim U'Matir Asurim U'Mechayeh Emunato L'Shenei Avah Milhamot Aval Gevurot U'Mito Me'elah Melech Me'mid U'Mechayeh U'Matzmiach Yeshua Leman HaChayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh V'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Ya'alu Ha'Selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. May be seated. We continue at the bottom of page 173. Let's treat this as a responsive reading. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 175, please join me at the top of the page. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, Sha'otecha levadecha be'yirah na'avod. page 177. Please join us on the second reading on the page. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh ulehodot. Continue on page 178 with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon levo hashalom. Ki ata
Join us at the top of page 179. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We jump ahead to page 371. People that we know who are in need of healing at this time. If there's anyone that you're thinking of, we'd like to share their name aloud so that we can include them in our own prayers. That would be most appreciated.
Mary, Claire, Cynthia, and Kathy.
Sure.
Judy Rothstein.
Sure. Anyone else on this side of the room? On this side of the room?
Albert, Christopher, Brian.
Sure. Include them all in our prayers. moment for silent prayer. This Wednesday, President Trump tweeted videos from the British equivalent of the KKK. The videos were entitled, "Muslim Migrant Beats Up Dutch Boy on Crutches!" exclamation point. "Muslim Destroys a Statue of Virgin Mary." And "Islamist Mob Pushes Teenage Boy Off Roof and Beats Him to Death." The assailant in one of the videos was not a Muslim migrant, and the other two showed 4-year-old events with no explanation whatsoever. This sparked an international fury against President Trump and the good people of our country by proxy. Not only did the State Department warn the White House that these anti-Islam tweets increase the danger that we face as a country, there was another reminder that the man who not too long ago stated, quote, "I think Islam hates us," doesn't actually know a thing about Islam. In my October bulletin article, I highlighted the Jewish value of hocheach tochiach, you shall rebuke. It's a value that comes from Leviticus chapter 19, verse 17. You shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall surely rebuke your neighbor and not bear sin because of him. Talmud Shabbat 54b expands our responsibility. If you see wrongdoing by a member of your household and you do not protest, you are held accountable. And so it is in relation to the members of your city, and so it is in relation to the world. As Jews, we are commanded to rebuke anyone who says anything as profoundly disturbing as we saw from our president this week, in an effort to subject the world's 1.8 billion Muslims to character assassination. There's a long-standing Jewish precedent that we are no better than anyone else, whether they be Jewish, Christian, Muslim, what have you. As we know, all human beings of every race and religion were created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. To reinforce this concept, Mishnah Sanhedrin 4:5 teaches that all humanity derives from Adam and Eve for the sake of peace among people, so that no one can say to another, "My father is greater than yours." Indeed, when Abraham sends his son Ishmael away from home, an angel tells Hagar that God will be with Ishmael as his descendants become a great nation who shall dwell alongside their kinsmen. Genesis 16, verse 12. In this spirit, the prophet Isaiah preaches of a time in which Israel shall be a third partner with Egypt and Assyria as a blessing on earth. For the Lord of hosts will bless them, saying, "Blessed be my people Egypt, my handiwork Assyria, and my very own Israel." Isaiah chapter 19, verse 24. If indeed all peoples, including Arabs, are created in God's image, and the followers of Islam are the descendants of Ishmael, And we are all intended to become partners in advancing humanity, then there can be no doubt how despicable the president's position on Islam must be to us. The similarities and parallels between Judaism and Islam are remarkable. Let's just take a few examples from our religious language. The Arabic word for God, Allah, is related to the Hebrew word El, which means God, as in Elohim. The Quran itself comes from the same linguistic root as Mikra, the Hebrew word for scripture. Most of us know that salam is a derivative of shalom, but how many of us were aware that the Muslim pilgrimage, the Hajj, comes from the same root as a Chag, the Jewish word for the festivals in which we would make a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Tzedakah, an Arabic word, is a variation of our Hebrew word tzedakah, both of which refer to charity as well as justice. And even the word madrasa is related to Beit Midrash, the traditional Hebrew word for school. Jews worship El Harachamim, the God of compassion, while Muslims worship Al-Rahman. It's the same thing. The more we study, the sooner we realize that the similarities between Judaism and Islam go much deeper than our religious vocabulary, to dietary restrictions, religious rituals, philosophical discourse, and shared experiences. Historically speaking, Jews probably have more in common with our Semite cousins than any other people on the planet. I can tell you I've got far more in common with my friend Usman Akhtar, the Imam of the Danbury Masjid, than I do with the President of the United States. Looking at our own history, it cannot be denied that Judaism flourished under Muslim rule. The Jewish academies completed the task of the Talmud in Babylonia when it became increasingly difficult to do so in Israel. The yeshivas of Sura and Pumbedita were relocated to Iraq in the 9th century because Baghdad had become the proverbial Mecca of scholarship in theology, philosophy, linguistics, spell letters, science, and medicine. Arabic had become the so-called lingua franca, so much so that the great Sadia Gaon, Rosh Yeshiva of Sura in Baghdad, composed his treatises and his responsa entirely in Arabic. Under the Spanish Umayyads during the Golden Age of Spain between the 10th and 12th centuries, as Spain rose to become the cultural capital of the world, so too the acme of Jewish academy shifted to Sfarad. Jews rose to prominent positions in society, such as Chasdai ibn Shafrut, who died in the year 970, who became the personal physician, advisor, and grand vizier to Abd al-Rahman III. Shmuel HaNagid, who died in the year 1056, composed some of the greatest Hebrew poetry, established a yeshiva, and authored a number of important halachic treatises while he was general of the army of Granada. And in Egypt, Moses Maimonides, who died in 1204, served the Sultan Saladin as doctor and advisor by day, while moonlighting as the preeminent leader of the Jewish people, solving the religious disputes of Jews around the world while composing a comprehensive reworking of the entirety of Jewish law, the Mishnah Torah, and a formidable philosophical treatise, The Guide to the Perplexed. Yes, Jews lived in a second-class dhimmi status under Muslim rule, and Jews have never lived without some forms of anti-Semitism wherever we may find ourselves. However, it cannot be denied that the unparalleled advancement of Jewish culture under Muslim rule has yet to be replicated even today. If indeed the Jewish people are to honor our mission to become a light unto the nations, from Isaiah 42:6, then that process must begin with informing ourselves about the cultures and religions of the various peoples of the world. If we want people to hear the morals and the values that Judaism has to offer the world, then we must learn enough about the world to understand the conditions in which our message is most likely to be received. I submit that the more we understand about the peoples of the world and their various worldviews, the less fear we will have in our own lives. The The better we understand them, the greater the opportunity to build bridges and strengthen the bonds of humanity. While ignorance and fear lead only to violence and war, knowledge and compassion are the building blocks of peace and prosperity for all people created in the image of God. Come what may, Egypt, Libya, Syria, Israel, and the United States, anywhere in the world, let our actions not be governed by fear and Islamophobia. Jewish people must stand up for our Muslim friends and neighbors. We would not be here today were it not for those who stood up for us when people scapegoated us the way that our president would like to scapegoat the Muslims. There are violent Muslims in the world, to be sure, just as there are violent Christians and there are violent Jews. The greatest victims of Muslim terrorism are Muslims themselves. When we harbor ignorant prejudices against Muslims, we add insult to injury and we diminish our own humanity. To truly live up to our truest potential, to be a light unto the nations, we must rebuke injustice wherever we see it, even when it comes in the form of a racist tweet from the President of the United States. Let us always be guided by the Jewish directive we find in Psalm 34:15 to seek peace and to pursue it. Shabbat Shalom. Just a few announcements. I have my adult education Jews and food class on Thursday evenings, and you're welcome to join us at 7 o'clock. On Tuesdays at 4:30, the Cantor is offering a class on cantillation, which is very helpful for people who are going to be participating in our Torah-thon. It's not coming up until February 3rd, but believe it or not, we have 11 people that are going to be chanting that day. So more than a minion of people chanting Torah. I'm really excited about that. Also, next week, I will not be here because I'll be at the URJ Biennial in Boston. I'll bring back exciting sermon topics to share with you. I would also tell people that time is running out to sign up for the Israel trip. So if you would like to come on the Israel trip, or you know someone who would like to come on the Israel trip, let me know as soon as possible, because we'll need to know in the next, certainly within the next month or so for certain. December 10th, Sunday, December 10th, PJ Library is having a special Hanukkah program for children involving painting. And on December 16th, we're going to have a field trip to the Litchfield Distillery with a tour and tasting. Sorry for the Kent kids, you guys can't join us for that. Maybe when you turn 21, you can come and participate in something like that. But we'll have a tour and tastings, and I think it's going to be a really nice evening. So we wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi?
Yes.
I have an announcement.
Sure.
There's a group, Jewish and Muslim women together called JAM, and we're meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 at the home of one of the members of my congregation in Danbury. But if anyone is interested, it's a wonderful group, and we're meeting for quite some time.
I have heard really wonderful things about this Jewish Muslim women's group. What time is it tomorrow?
2:30.
2:30 tomorrow, and the location?
In Danbury at the home of Susan Tritter.
Okay, in Danbury at the home of Susan Tritter. If you...
If anyone's interested, you can talk to me afterwards.
Okay, wonderful. Love to encourage these kinds of things. It fits right into my sermon. I could have mentioned it in the sermon. So we're going to continue on page 586. I would ask everyone please to rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol la'ateit gedulah liyotzeh b'reishit shelo asanu b'goyei ha'aratzot ve'lo samanu k'mishpatot ha'adama shelo sam delkeinu ka'em ve'lo rabbeinu k'chol hamonam v'anachnu kordim u'mishavavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamachim V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo may be seated. I'll be reading at the top of page 595. It's hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete. When those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words. And what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. Turn to page 598. This time we observe yardsides for Ben Zion Gottlieb, Rose Settle Frank, and Jack Rothkin. We're in a year of mourning for Andrew Whitstein, Saul Bresnik, Richard Frank, Nehemiah Laser, Harry Brode, Diane Mark Abramson, Victor Peplau, Murray Kessler, and Claire Katz. Are there any additional names to add? Say Zichrono Levachah, the memory of each one is a blessing. We rise together as one supportive congregation to recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam lo'omei omayah, yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'taleh v'talal shemei kudusha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata tamiran v'yoma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and all the good people of the world. And let us say, Amen. Oseh shalom, shalom, shalom. B'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Seated. Before we continue with our closing song, I just want to thank you, Barbara. I love when you bring your guitar and your beautiful voice, and it just sets just the right tone for services. Can you tell us what our closing song is?
You changed my mind for me in midstream.
Oh,
again.
Okay then.
I was gonna do Al Hanisim because Hanukkah's coming, but
A good song.
But now I have to do Salam.
Excellent choice. So
I was like, okay, fine.
you can find it in the prayer book on
Is it?
page, yeah, it is somewhere. I'm gonna find it in a second. Where did they put it? Yeah. Oh, they probably list it as audiobook.
Oh, my.
LMNO. Yeah, about page 657. Page 657.
Okay.
Shalom Aleinu,
capo it.
Yeah, that's too
Look
long.
at the capo.
The men in the room are gonna hate as they try to get as low of a bass as they
We're gonna sing whatever you choose.
can. Yeah.
However you do, whatever
Let's
key
see
you
if we
want.
can find a better key.
Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Bet Al-Kulam. Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Odibo Shalom Aleinu, Bet Al-Kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Odibo shalom aleinu, odibo shalom aleinu, odibo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Odibo shalom aleinu, odibo shalom aleinu, odibo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Odibo shalom aleinu, odibo shalom aleinu, odibo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yochunecha, Yasad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Please join us for Kiddush and Emotzi in the other room.
I'm not gonna beat the time. Go in the house. Then we started talking, and I was like, I want to stay so long here.
I love having singing services. I really enjoy it. It does a lot for me. And I think I'm a better service leader when you sing. Honestly, I really enjoy it.
Oh, see, you got pretty tough.